Hello, and welcome back to Rimworld. It's been a little while since I've recorded. Hopefully that's alright. I remember we had a little bit of a disaster last episode. See what we can make of the situation. And in the meantime, I'll tell you what I've been up to since I last recorded Rimworld. I went on a trip to Seattle, my college. It was very fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I talked with some very cool companies, and I was able to get a better picture of what I want to do when I go out and into the professional field of computer science. Companies that we visited in order: Amazon, Microsoft, Unity, Null Space VR, and Big Oven. You may not recognize all of those names. It's totally okay, because with our school, we want to visit the bigger companies as well as the smaller companies. I'm not going to go into great detail about what we did because I don't want to necessarily give you an impression of the company that is false, because it's been a few days since I've been there and I don't know exactly. Well, let's just say my memory isn't so great. At Amazon, we had a pretty good time. Went in and we talked to some of their developers. It was a Q&A session, essentially, about what it's like to work at Amazon. I found that, first of all, Margaret should not be cutting plants. But second of all, I found that Amazon is a company that likes to do a lot with very little. So they'll have very few engineers, normal company. Reason for this is that they want to get as much as they can out of all of their engineers. This has led to Amazon getting somewhat of a reputation for overworking their staff. Now, the people that I talked to specifically did not seem like they were overworked. They said that they had pretty reasonable hours, and that they were having a good time working at Amazon. But I recognize that this may be a result of the fact that only the people that were not busy enough to be very stressed out about their job had the time to visit us in the first place. Then I went to the post office in Seattle. It is pretty dark. At least it was when I went there. Not to say that it wasn't well lit, necessarily. And all the offices in Seattle will have this sort of problem. But, all that being said, let's see, who has a good social? Sorry, I interrupted my train of thought a little bit. Alright, excellent. That gives us a lot of resources that we sorely... Oh... So that was probably some crossfire. Sucks. Really needed that bot. But... get on. We talked to some of the workers at Google, found that if you're familiar with their hiring practices, they're very exclusive relative to, oh, a robot trader, excellent, just what we need. Relative to most companies, they are very exclusive. What a robot trader. I don't even have any robot. Crappy crafter. No. What we can buy is steel. Alright, that's good. I think that's a sound investment. Anyway. It was a very exclusive company. However, if you really want to work for Google, I have a feeling that you'll be able to work. Maybe not right out of college, but if you continue to develop your professional skills, and you're very persistent, and you follow Google's advice on how to actually get your skills to an acceptable level to work at their company, I have a feeling that they'll gladly accept you. However, this does not necessarily mean that you want to work for Google at the time. I got the sense that Google is making a very large effort to attract to their company. And a lot of the things that they do come across to me as somewhat unprofessional. That's more of a workplace culture criticism. They try very hard to be different and cool. And they do a lot of cool things, don't get me wrong. As much as I'm criticizing them now, I do have a lot of respect for what Google does. Alright. But when I want to work for someplace, generally it means that I want there to be an environment where I could say, yes, I'm going to do work now. I have a lot of trouble working from home, or in any environment that doesn't seem kind of, perhaps you might call it sterile. We get a better ransom. Although this person is really by them. I want also, honestly, I want both of these. I'm gonna wake some people. Get them though. So I can have enough silver to buy this person. Their exchange. Alright. So when I think of a company that calls Googlers, and they handed me these Technicolor socks, and they tell me all about their workspace, when it is, how friendly everyone is. All of those are good things. At any software company, you want there to be an emphasis on collaboration. Otherwise, you might be running into some problems later in development, or early in development, when people can't work together, or can't work together effectively. I'm gonna have you hold. I'm also put this zone to be a stockpile, and then have no one put anything in it. This is a small trick and roll. Make sure. This stuff will register in your stockpile, and so ones can interact with it as if it was a stockpile. But then they'll also move. Let's build. I have a feeling that I would get very easily distracted in a Google. Now, does that mean that I won't work for them someday? I have a feeling that I'll work for Google at some point. Because when I think about companies that are at the cutting edge of technology, 21st century, first one I think of is always. But this doesn't mean that I don't have some concerns about how the place is run. Which I think is just a question of fairness. Pardon me. Bleeding heart. Yeah, well. You're kidding. At least it was over quick. Come on, Raymond. Do it. Just extinguish yourself. Extinguish yourself. Extinguish yourself. Extinguish yourself. Extinguish yourself. Okay, finally. Oh well. Wait, why doesn't this have any bills? Maybe it was blown up? Alright. Try to keep interrupting myself. Game that needs to be played. Yeah. I swear I'm not sick anymore. Getting eventually more blood work done on Monday. Oh no, on Tuesday. Today is Saturday. So, companies that I did like. I really liked what Microsoft had on offer. Their campus was gorgeous. And I'm sure that Google has an equally impressive one somewhere in the world. But this looked very, very nice. The atmosphere was nice. Even though it was dark and rainy, the place looked like it had been designed for. I can afford it. And Microsoft, it was another Q&A, but there was only one. The others didn't show. I don't know how much that says about the company. And we ate lunch. Pretty simple. We visited the company stores. A lot of Microsoft goods. There was a lot of Halo, Gears of War, Minecraft stuff. So, generic Microsoft markup 200% as a company store. There's also a secret area in the back. Not so secret, but it was a guarded area in the back where employees buy really discounted Microsoft games and consoles. I should. After that, we visited Unity. Unity was the most impressive of the companies I visited, I believe. For that, I have the speakers on. That again. It was a very, very nice presentation on everything that Unity was doing. I was very excited because I got to speak with the developer that I worked with the Moon Studios, and one of my favorite games ever, in the Blind Forest. Maybe a silent journal. That is something. We get to talk as well about Unity's efforts to develop from a gaming company into, or a company that designed a game engine more accurately, into a more generalized company, their ads and their asset store. They are also going into machine learning. I thought was very interesting. Big fan of artificial, I haven't already mentioned. And they had some really talented speakers, and I believe that I have a much better idea of what Unity is going to do now. And because they're a smaller company, I was able to get a bigger picture. So the last two companies I will explain in case you're not familiar. Nullspace VR is a company that's designing an accessory to games, which is a programmable vest, motors on it, that will react upon certain action. You basically, in your code, you could say, hey, at this point, I'll use it for free. Never mind about this either. Alright, so there are a lot of pre-programmed reactions that the vest can have for your game. Like if there's one virtual reality experience, and this is mainly for VR, where the vest will simulate a spider crawling up your arm, as an example. And I've heard it's pretty realistic. I know this is inefficient, but I like things pretty. One of my concerns I would have with that hardware is that, first of all, are people going to buy it? The target price, according to the developers right now, is $350 for a suit. It works well, it's a very good product, it's easy to get on. That isn't the problem. The problem is that it does take time to get on. And I'm not certain what audience you're willing to put down $350 for that sort of experience. So, smartly, the developers are going for an arcade approach. When to sell the suit to arcades with games, and they're going to attach it to the games, and then you'll put it on after wiping it down with sanitary wipes. You'll put it on and you'll do a shooting game, and there will be feedback for that. And I bet it'll be pretty alright too. But as far as expanding into the commercial marketplace, I very much doubt that people will be willing to pay that much money for that sort of experience. That's just my criticism. It's very, very pricey, and relies on both the games it's developed for being good. There's nothing to haul. God, we've done it. Alright. So, I'm gonna start mining some. I'm gonna tell you the last company that I went to. I'm gonna end the video. The last company we visited was called Big Oven. It's an app that is essentially a recipe encyclopedia. Most of its recipes are user submitted. And it will also allow you, its primary feature according to me, that it'll allow you to take any 3 ingredients and look up recipes that include them. So, if I wanted to use a recipe with sweet potato, kale, and quinoa, I can say to the app, hey, find me a recipe with these ingredients. You won't always find what you're looking for. You'll find what you're looking for often enough to justify to the app. That justify the yearly $10 premium to get all the other features. That's up to you. Personally, I try to avoid spending money on apps as fervently as I can. To be honest, I try to avoid spending money in general. Except when XCOM 2 goes on sale for 60% off. So we will definitely be seeing that in a later game journal. Though I also might I might consider playing Invisible Ink, because that's a game I'm also very fond of. I think it has some things going for it. Not much happened this episode for Rimworld. It did get cleaned up, and that's something I value, because we were a mess when we just got here. So I'm going to call the recording here. I'm gonna play until something interesting happens, and I will start recording again tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to take care of yourself, and have a good night.